I read 30 books in the month of April, and here's what I learned. Hey y'all, it's your girl Raylyn, also known as Rafizzle, and I am back with another monthly reading wrap-up video. For the month of April, I read 30 books. We will not be spending this video discussing every single book that I read this month because then this video would just be so long and drawn out. Instead, I'm going to give y'all an overview of my stats for the month and a breakdown of the books that I felt were worth mentioning in this video. And at the end, I will follow everything up with the lessons that I learned from the books that I read this month. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So starting off with our stats, if you do see me looking down, it's because I've got all of my notes right here on my iPad. For the month of April, I read a total of 30 books, bringing my total progress to 72 books out of 150 books for the year. So as of April 30th, I am 48% complete with my reading goal for 2025. So shout out to me. April was a pretty good reading month. It's the best numbers that I put up all year so far. So shout out to me for reading pretty much every day. Out of the 30 books that I read, 97% of those books were fiction, 3% being nonfiction, and an unhealthy amount of those books were romance. I swear romance is not my favorite genre of book to read. It finds me somehow. I can try reading other things or read other things, and then once I look at my wrap up, I always end up reading more romance than anything. I don't know what that is. Maybe one day I will challenge myself to not read any romance for a week. A month might be asking for a little bit too much. 50% of those books were audiobooks, 33% of those books were digital books, and 17% of those books were print books. All of these stats and information that you are hearing me list in this video will be shown in this beautiful infographic that I will have right here. This graphic is provided by Storygraph, which is a social media platform for readers. You can find your next read, track books that you've already read, books that you want to read, and you can even connect with other users. So it's pretty similar to Goodreads, but it is Black owned. This video is not sponsored, but if you haven't already, follow me on Storygraph and Goodreads. My name is Rafizzle on all platforms. I would love to share this community with y'all, and you can see what I'm up to when I'm not online talking about books on this channel. So before we go into the breakdown of the books worth mentioning, I just want to give y'all a little overview of how this is going to go. I'm going to list the title and the authors of these books, but I'm only going to follow it up with a one sentence description. So I'm gonna give y'all the Tubi movie type description, you feel me? And some of them may follow up with a few thoughts, some of them I may not, and at the end we will talk about the lessons that I learned. So starting off with our first category, we have the books that I marked as DNF and sent to my DNF graveyard. If you saw my March reading wrap up and my last March reading vlog, I did talk about DNFing my first book, which was The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Souljah. And at that point I realized if a book is not interesting me, I don't have to put myself through reading a book. There's not going to be a reward. There's no cookie at the end of reading a book that is boring or that I do not like. I'm just torturing myself. So since we buried our first book back in March, we buried two more in April. The first book that we buried in the April DNF graveyard was The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Delilah Harris. A young black woman working in publishing is thrilled when another black woman joins the office, but their friendship takes a sinister turn as she uncovers a disturbing secret. It sounded like it was supposed to be interesting. I saw comparisons to Jordan Peele, and I've noticed anytime a black thriller compared to Jordan Peele's movies, it's not the same, okay? And I wish they would stop making the comparisons because I end up feeling like they pale in comparison. And you know, I don't know, it sets those thrillers up for failure. There's a show about this book. I DNF'd this book 50% in, and I ended up donating the book halfway through. I'm not gonna watch the show because the book was not at all entertaining. There wasn't a single thing about this book that made me feel like finishing it was going to be worth the wait and the torture. So buried her. For number 2, we have Loving My Wife and Her Sister Too by Shelley Marie and Lady Lisa. A man finds himself entangled in a dangerous love triangle when his wife's long-lost sister enters their lives, leading to betrayal, secrets, and explosive consequences. This is supposed to be one of those messy Kindle novellas that you can get for free, and there was a lot of mess, but it was messy like all over the place, kind of not really making sense. Like there were some plot holes. It was just a big mess, and I was not enjoying it. I was bored, so buried that hoe too. Those are the two books that were buried in my DNF graveyard. May they rest in peace. Good riddance. You were a waste of my time. Moving on, we have my top 3 favorite books for the month of April. My first favorite for the month of April was James by Percival Everett, a retelling of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn from the perspective of Jim, an enslaved man who navigates survival, freedom, and identity while journeying down the Mississippi River with Huck. I don't even remember the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, don't remember what went on, but this retelling really connected with me. I was so enthralled in this audiobook. I was engaged from start to finish. I felt like I was right there with them, traveling down the Mississippi River, going through the things that they were going through, code switching, tap dancing, running away from white people, doing everything that they was doing. I felt like I was right there with them. I was so wrapped up in the story that once we hit the ending, I was like, hold on now. That's it. I'm ready for the next adventure. Like what happened, and then what happened? What happened next? I loved this book. It deserves all the praise that it gets on all social media platforms, word of mouth, in the bookstores. I definitely get it. Need that trophy for my physical bookshelves. For number 2, we have Must Love Books by Shauna Robinson. A disillusioned editorial assistant secretly takes a second job with a rival publisher to make ends meet, leading to ethical dilemmas and unexpected romance. I talked about this book a little bit in my mini twist that got me the job video. This is a book that I've had on my TBR on my shelves for years, and I've tried to read it, tried to get into it, but every time I try, I just end up getting distracted and it just doesn't hit for me. But the one time that I did pick it up in the month of April, I was captivated from beginning to end, and I feel like I picked it up at the right time because what Nora was experiencing in this book resonated with what I was experiencing at the time and what I'm currently experiencing. You find yourself in a position where what you thought you wanted and what you've been dealing with turns out to not be fulfilling, and you just realize like, do I really have to put myself through this? And as you're trying to figure out what your purpose is, what your next goal is, you know, you just have so many what ifs and so many anxious thoughts just coming at you, and it can be a lot. Navigating your 20s, navigating your life period, but especially as an adult, can be very intimidating and daunting to where you just find yourself in a state of paralysis. And this book really resonated with me. I absolutely loved every second of it, and I actually kind of want to read it again. For number 3, we have Between Lovers by Eric Jerome Dickey. A man struggles with heartbreak when his ex-fiancée, now in a relationship with a woman, invites him back into her life, creating a passionate and complicated love triangle. This book was beautifully written. I know I said that about a lot of books, but this book was truly beautifully written. I've read at least 4 or 5 Eric Jerome Dickey books this year so far, and this is my favorite one. 5 stars, perfect. This is a perfect book. I wouldn't change anything about it, and I love the way he depicted the raw emotion of angst, yearning, lust, love, heartbreak, the desire for control, the desire for acceptance. I love the way he depicted the relationships in the love triangle, but even outside of the love triangle, the relationships with certain characters and their parents and their decisions, and it was just it was captivating. I really love this story. I listened to it on the audiobook, and I wish I had a physical book or an ebook copy so that I could have gone in and highlighted or tabbed certain things, because there were quotes that were really touching me. One line that I remember that the man said, he said, "If my love were water, it would be enough to fill this room and drown us both." And it's like, if you read the story and you go all the way through, like, you can understand where he's coming from. You can really feel that he really loves this girl. 5 stars. Lastly, we have our category of honorable mentions, books that did not get buried in the DNF graveyard but didn't quite make the favorites list. So for the first book, we have The Starter X by Mia Sosa. A woman with a history of sabotaging relationships agrees to fake date a commitment phobe to help her sister win his heart, only to find herself unexpectedly falling for him. This is an Audible original by Mia Sosa. It is a rom-com and it has fake dating. I am not a fan of fake dating, but I feel like Mia Sosa did this perfectly. I enjoyed it. It was funny. It was sweet. It had everything that I could ever want in a romance. I don't know. I loved it. I enjoyed it. If you haven't read it or listen to it. I highly recommend listening to it. Number 2, we have Harlem Rhapsody by Victoria Christopher Murray, a historical novel following Jessie Redmond Fawcett's rise as a literary editor during the Harlem Renaissance, her mentorship of iconic writers, and her complicated affair with W.E.B. Du Bois. So this was a book club read with Shelby and the book club, and also a buddy read with my mom. And I love historical fiction, and I love how it really gives me a new perspective of historical events and historical figures in Black culture. This book really had me frustrated because Jessie was lost in the sauce when it came to W.E.B. Du Bois. Like, there were moments where I was like, what matters to her most? Her career or her affair with this married man? And I know it's historical fiction. I can't say if Will was out here doing his wife dirty like he was doing his wife dirty in this book, but I wouldn't be surprised if he did, especially because he was an educated Black man, he had some power, he had money, and you know, they already feel like because of the ratio to men to women that they could just have them all. And the way he kind of carried himself in the book, it was just like,
my wife know what I come with.
And it was driving me crazy because I'm like, girl, during this time, you should want more for yourself. But you want to be running up under this man that's married. My mom had a few thoughts and comments on this book. I'm going to share a screenshot of one thing that she did say that kind of had me cracking up. But yes, this book is messy, but it was good. Messy, but good. For number 3, we have The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Through letters to God, a Black woman in early 20th century Georgia recounts her struggles with abuse, oppression, and self-discovery, ultimately finding strength and love. I've seen this movie plenty of times as a kid, but I have not watched it as an adult. This was my first time reading this book, and I mainly listened to the audiobook at work, and I absolutely loved it. I want to get the physical book, and I actually see myself rereading this book this year and possibly making it an annual read. But this book actually makes me want to write letters more. Even if I don't think anyone's ever gonna read them, or I have no intentions on actually sending them, there's something healing about writing down your thoughts and your experiences, even in the moments when you don't really know how to articulate them. So this makes me want to tap into that more. Last but certainly not least, we have The Bookshop Sisterhood by Michelle Lindo Rice. 4 best friends preparing to open their dream bookstore face unexpected personal crises, testing their friendship and resilience as they navigate life's twists. So this book has like 3.3 stars on Goodreads, and a lot of people were rating them 2 stars. Some of those people, I feel like, did not read the back of the book or the synopsis, because in the synopsis it says that there are 4 women trying to open a bookshop together, but things happen in their lives that completely upend their lives and get in the way of opening that bookshop. People were in the reviews talking about, I thought this was gonna be a cozy read, but it's a soap opera. But I'm like, did you not read the synopsis? Like, on the cover of the book, it says that you're gonna laugh and you're gonna cry, which I did. I cried plenty of times reading this book. But some people, it just didn't really resonate with them, but it resonated with me. I feel like it did what it needed to do when it came down to me. So that's really all that matters. I enjoyed this book. I did end up getting the physical copy halfway through reading the book, and I absolutely loved the experience. Like, as a Black woman, if you know, you know. And if you haven't read that book, read it. And now for the part that you've been waiting for. I read 30 books in the month of April, and here's what I learned. April did have its highs and lows. It started off with some life-changing reads and ended with a lot to reflect on. This month, I learned that it's okay to put down a book that's no longer holding my interest. There's no point in forcing it when there's plenty of other great stories out there just waiting to be read. But the ones that truly resonated with me deepened my love for historical fiction and reinforced that life doesn't always follow a linear path to happiness. We stumble, we grow, and it's important that we ask and strive for more in life. Even the lighter reads had their lessons. There's something oddly satisfying about a well-done fake dating trope, and writing down my thoughts and experiences matters even if I have no intention on anyone ever reading them. But my biggest takeaway would be that healing is messy. We don't always handle our emotions perfectly, and sometimes our frustrations land where they shouldn't. Those moments do not define us, but facing them head on is the first step towards being better. April has been a wonderful reading month, and it honestly makes me so excited for the days and months to come for the rest of the year. Not only for my reading journey, but for life in general. If you made it this far in the video, I just want to thank you for your time and attention, because you could be anywhere else, doing anything else, but instead you're right here with me, talking about books, and I sincerely appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one.